The insidious thing about air pollution is that there's no giant explosion, no central focal point for which to rally round. It creeps ever so slightly, day by day, higher and higher. There was a point in man's progress when Mother Nature could handle air pollution. The plants and other natural processes could expel enough clean, pure oxygen to offset the pollutant content. But every system has its limits. Taxed beyond this point, the system starts to collapse. Our system has already begun to collapse. That's why you can see fog-like clouds of pollution hanging over our cities. Mother Nature can't handle it anymore. Was never meant to handle this much. It just keeps stacking up, day by day. What will it be 10 years from now? How far will our system have collapsed? Or will there be a system left?
I guess we started to get our warnings back there. Rachel Carson, I think it was, wrote that book, The Silent Spring, where she said one of these days, you know, there wouldn't be any insects and birds and things like that. So I don't know how long it's been since I've seen a bird around here. But anyhow, we were more concerned about keeping the city pretty and not getting soot all over everything. I guess we all had our sinus troubles and coughed your way clear in the morning, but well, people started to move to the suburbs, but then even that wasn't far enough out. And it seemed to be, you know, the city said the businesses, factories and what have you, had to come up with some pollution devices, and there were always excuses to why they couldn't get it done this year. We'll wait till next year. And there's no time to wait anymore. We got to move somewhere. You know, the past 2 weeks, it's gotten to the point where, well, we used to have this fog every now and then, but it's just been getting thicker and thicker every day. Kids have been sick. I haven't been able to work as much as usual, and just getting to work. You got to take one of the buses, or you can't ride a bicycle anymore unless you wear some kind of an inhaler to protect your lungs. You know, we used to be able to get away from it every now and then. We'd pack the kids in the car and go out to one of the parks and kind of relax, get out there in the grass and sunshine, but nothing's growing anymore. Everything's bare, just old dirt anymore. You know, it used to be when we had one of these temperature inversions when the smog would hang over the city that, well, you waited and a shower would come along and clean things up and you started all over again. Then it got to the point where, you know, it wasn't like rain used to be when it cleaned things. Stuff was so full of chemicals that it got kind of green, chalky looking and stain everything it hit. And well, I don't know why, but it just quit raining. Well, you know, it hadn't rained in must be a year now. Next thing you know, all the vegetation was dying. No bushes, no trees, no grass even. First we thought it was because of the lack of rain, but well, now we know it was because of the air itself. It was so polluted and loaded with chemicals that plants couldn't even breathe. I guess it must have been 5 years ago when government really got concerned about the condition of the air. They knew that air, like we knew it then, would hold a certain amount of this pollutant, and, you know, it would clear up every now and then, but now I don't think it's air anymore. They've found that it's so loaded with pollutants, chemicals, whatever makes up the pollution, that it's not really air anymore. Turned into some kind of a poisonous gas. I remember back in the early 70s, and they used to worry about ecology, was the big word then. Worried about the Ohio River. Pollution was, well, it was killing the fish then, and then we got to the point where it was going to kill us if we drank it, you know. Back when you had the water that came into your house before we had to buy it in the jars. Worried about septic tanks and things like that. It got to the point now where it's not a matter of ecology, it's a matter of you're going to be able to stay alive. You know, back there in the 70s, we used to have those crowds of people come in here for the Derby. They haven't had one in the last 4 years. I guess in the 1980s, the time you just got to leave the valley and go find something somewhere. In the last couple of weeks, I read where I think it was 40 people died last week with problems of, you know, lung congestion, breathing problems is what it is. And it's going to get to the point where there's nobody to work and no place to work. And even then, I don't know if the problem's going to solve itself, because the air just isn't there anymore. It's just this cloud of gas that seems to be hanging over the whole world. I can remember a time when the big factories, you know, the government would make their noises about pollution control. So some of these factories would wait until nighttime when it was dark. Then they'd pour it out in the dark where you couldn't see it. Of course, it was still there hanging over the town in the morning, but now it's not that. Many of the factories have closed down, and you can hardly tell night from day anymore as it is, because you can't see the sun. You got the lights at night, and it's just that same murky look all over the place, night or day. Sometimes I sit here at night at home, air controls on as full as they'll go nowadays to try and keep the air as clean as it can. And I, you know, how did this all happen? And of course, the first thing you think of is the big factories and all the smoke and stuff coming out of their chimneys. But I don't know. You had the automobile that was a big cause of pollution. We all worried about that back when, you know, everybody was driving. And you'd hear things about, you know, don't use green and pink toilet paper because it pollutes the rivers. And it all seemed to be a lot of fuss about what didn't seem to be much of anything then. But I guess I really blamed the government, because I figured, you know, the government was getting bigger and bigger, and if they had all that control, they should have done something about this. But I guess really you come right down to it, it's every one of us that's to blame for what's happened. Now, maybe it's just too late.